Oh, good. Yeah, this is perfect. Because when you talk, you're on. When I talk, I'm on. And this is mostly about you. Did I miss your birthday? You're a Pisces, right?
February 24th.
Missed it. Well, mine was yesterday. You missed mine, so we're even.
I just chocolate chip ice cream. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I think we are live. Charles, are we live? Can you tell? It sometimes takes a moment for once we start
Yeah.
for people to. I see it. I see some people there. Hey, everybody, and welcome. This is a real hi, Julie Adams. We have a real treat today. If having Chef Bravo in the morning wasn't enough, we're going to end the day with another wonderful, wonderful plant-based chef, best-selling author, friend. His name is Chef Del Sroufe. He has the hardest last name to pronounce in the world, but I think after 10 years, I finally figured out how to do it. Welcome, Del.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
I wanted to talk to some chefs this week because everybody's freaking out about food shortages. And so you need to reassure us that we're going to be okay, even if we can't find kale, even if we can't find an onion. How are we going to eat, Del? How are we going to eat?
Oh, you're going to do just fine. It's easier than you think if you just sort of let go. You just have to let go sometimes. The rules aren't really meant to be rules in cooking. They're meant to be guidelines anyway. So if you're one of those people that's always been stuck on, I've got to follow that recipe to the T, and now's the time to maybe lighten up on that. You don't need it. It's a touchstone for your, as I'll call it, your new reality, if you will.
I agree with you. With baking, I think people should follow recipes because that's a little bit scientific. But with cooking, it's okay to color outside the lines.
Yeah, it's what it's all about. I think I follow a couple of rules. If I follow a basic recipe, then I try to follow a couple of basic rules for maintaining the integrity of that recipe. All right, so there's some things that are okay to do, and maybe some things not so much. Um, and let me give you an example. So you make a pot of say red lentil soup, and you've got kale in it, and you've got potatoes in it, you've got onions and celery in it, and you have your spice mixture, whatever that might be, and you don't have potatoes. Well, what's a good substitute for potatoes? Almost any of the other starchy root vegetables, right? It can be rutabaga, it can be sweet potato, it can be name one,
Turnip, maybe turnip.
or turnip. They all taste a little bit differently, but they all act the same in that recipe, right? They pretty much act as the starchy vegetable is going to act when you throw it into a big pot of water or soup. All right, kale's the same way. You don't have kale, but you've got arugula, you've got spinach, you've got chard, and anything else. Now they all cook different amounts of times, but they all end up about the same way in the end.
Yep.
So those are kind of the ways to start thinking about your recipes, and then and let go, let go of all the rigidness around cooking.
I think when recipes are created, they're being made up from stuff that's whatever the person has. I don't think the people making up the recipes are freaking out about it.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I've written, published, oh my God, 700, 800 recipes, something like that, over the years. And not a lot of those recipes happened because I was willing to stick strictly to what I wanted a recipe to be. Sometimes they were happy accidents, and some of my best recipes are happy accidents that happen because, well, I have this one habit when I'm teaching a cooking class. I'll have two recipes going at the same time. And if I get excited, sometimes I'm merging those recipes accidentally. So the kale's going in where the spinach is supposed to go in one recipe and vice versa. It all works out. It's rare that I end up throwing away a pot of soup or something because I put the wrong ingredient in. I have a new recipe, right? So that's where you want to get to with your cooking, and just lighten up a little bit with it.
I think the only thing you can't fix sometimes is too much salt.
Well, and I was going to mention that, but I'm like, this is an SOS free group anyway, so I'm thinking.
Not necessarily though, because it's going everywhere. Facebook, YouTube. It's not my little group. That's Wednesday nights. So yeah, these people probably eat salt. So, but I think it is hard to correct too much salt. At least when I used to cook with salt.
It's a harder one to do. But let's back up and then maybe start thinking about a couple of rules for our rule-free way of living now. One of them is less is more. All right. I mean, you don't ever start off seasoning heavy-handed, because if you do, you can't undo it, right? And another basic rule that goes along with that is you can't keep correcting for a bad mistake. You know what I mean? If you put like 4 tablespoons of oregano in, and it was supposed to be 4 teaspoons, it's hard to correct for that. There's no salt, no amount of sugar. You could quadruple the recipe, but there's not much else you could do to make that right. So there's a time to sort of realize, I messed this up. I'm going to leave it alone. But that's usually the thing with things like salt and your spices. Everything else is almost fixable or workable, at
Yep.
least in my world.
Now you said you created 800 recipes. What is that, like 5, 6 books?
It's it's 4 cookbooks that have me as the lead author, and then there was the Forks Over Knives, the plan, which I wrote the recipes for. That was 100 recipes, but I'm not the lead author. Then there's several for books like some of the China Study All Star collection, and things like that, and then a couple of books that never got published, believe it or not, that were books that were written to be accompaniments to documentaries that didn't quite make it.
You're
That happened.
kidding. Well, why don't you publish them now?
Well, they're not technically not completely mine. So there's that whole ownership thing that I'm learning a little bit about as I grow, that you want to sort of own your own material. Although I'll tell you what, I don't own the rights to books like Forks Over Knives, the cookbook, but I've done very, very well with that cookbook. It still sells insanely well, so I get over it.
Can you show us some of your books?
No, no, I forgot to bring them in here. I'm a bad person. Uh,
No.
it-
If you just joined us, the person I'm talking to is Chef Del Sroufe. He's the author of many, many plant-based cookbooks, multiple best-selling cookbooks. And you used to create a lot of food at the Wellness Forum that was like you could just add water to, right?
yeah, and those are still there. I've sort of stepped away from the Wellness Forum on a daily basis, but they still have a great collection of what we call in the bag mixes that make this all very easy now. And these are all a lot of these mixes are really good if you're trying to lose weight. Especially the soups are all mostly grains and vegetables and spices, so they're good for weight loss. You can really fill up on those. But there are things like a cornbread mix and a cake mix that are all oil free. They're not sugar free or salt free, but they're oil free when you want a treat for something like that. Um, and you know what, with what's going on right now with the coronavirus and all of that, I was just talking to Dr. Popper recently. They're selling very well.
I
People,
was going to say this, and these would be perfect things to stock up on when this is over because that's so easy and they don't spoil.
I tell you what, in my pantry, I have a couple of staples, favorites from there. I have a millet loaf. That's one of my favorite mixes of all time. And it's basically a boil water, add the millet mix in there, let it cook, and then all you add to that is some tomato sauce or ketchup, and maybe a little bit of tahini if you want. Makes a delicious loaf. I make meatloaf sandwiches out of it all the time, and it's very popular. I make great sloppy joes with it. So it's a very
Wow.
versatile. And all of those mixes that you buy from the Wellness Forum, you can go to the website, Wellness Forum Foods, and see 2 or 3 different ways to use them. So you have one mix and then 3 or 4 recipes that show you different. Like you can make stuffed peppers out of the millet loaf. You can make sloppy joes. You can make it into a hamburger, things like that. So they're very versatile and they're very easy to use, and tasty too. The most important part.
I bet they would be great when camping or traveling.
Yeah, well, and they do travel easy, and anything where you want just that kind of convenience. We have individual serving size soup mixes that you just add boiling water to. So you're around your campfire and you just want a quick something. Yeah, they're perfect for that.
That sounds great. Nadej says, Del Sroufe is the gentleman talking. His recipes are wonderful. I have his book.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're going to be teaching some cooking classes online soon, aren't you? I saw on your Facebook page.
I do have a series of classes coming up for next month if we get enough people interested. Just some basics, and we'll be talking about some of what we're talking about here, ways to sort of relax in your kitchen and make do with what you have. I've tried to shop a couple of times online for groceries, and on occasion I can't get the basics like tofu or potatoes or whatever, and I'm like, okay, we'll just do without it. So we'll talk about how to do that in those classes. But there's a soup class, there's a burgers class, stir fry, and then a quick and easy meals class.
That
Um,
sounds
the quick and easy meals is very popular. The soup one is too. Quick and easy meals comes from my China study quick and easy cookbook. If you go to my website, chefdelshrove.com, you'll see my cookbooks listed there. But that one is great if you're just not someone who spends a great deal of time in the kitchen. The meals are all meant to be prepared in less than 30 minutes with not too many ingredients. There are menu plans in there that show you how to cook once and eat all week. So spend 4 or 5 hours in the kitchen and be done for the week. And then shopping lists and things like that. So it's a fun one for that.
Yeah, that's important. I think batch cooking. I think that's one of the most important things for people, especially if they want to eat healthy.
If you want to eat healthy, I think it's the way to go. I meet and have met students who I have a student and I adore her who loves to come home at night and fix dinner. That is her nightly meditation, right? So she cooks every day. But she loves that, and that for her is relaxation. So if you're that person, then you can cook any way you want. But most of us are just happy to have something ready when we get home that we don't have to spend a lot of time on.
I agree. I was talking to Ramses this morning, and like when you're a chef, you don't come home and then make a fancy meal.
No, the most common meal that chefs prepare, and I don't know about those of us in the plant-based world, most common meal prepared by chefs is a peanut butter sandwich.
That's what I thought you were going to say, a bowl of cereal, but I know what you mean. Now, if you came in late, Susan, if this is Chef Del Sroufe, and the reason I cannot type is my chat doesn't work. I can read what you guys say, but I cannot type. So that is why I cannot type it in. So what is your favorite category of foods to make? Like entrees, desserts, soups, salads, sides?
Well, I'll tell you what, and we can talk a little bit about my own weight loss struggles. I owned a bakery, a vegan bakery was the first business that I owned. And I made fresh bread every day and muffins and scones and cakes, all those things. I just made them all vegan. I loved making bread. I loved the meditation of being in the kitchen. My earliest kitchen shift started at 1 a.m. Where
Oh,
I would make bread for Saturday, and I'd make 150 loaves for a Saturday, all by myself. And I started at 1 o'clock and just kept going. But it was the most meditative thing, and I tell you why. Bread making requires that you give in to the schedule of the bread. The dough determines what happens next. It's not about you. Everything else, you can take the stir fry off the stove and come back to it later. Once you started the bread, you're on its time frame, and there's something kind of relaxing and meditative about that. Plus, I got really strong upper arm muscles from all that great kneading. I like that part. But I love baking. I love the creativity of it. But I don't do much of it because I love eating too. So
well, you know what they say, Del, don't get high on your own supply. Yes,
I
I will spell his name. His last name is spelled Sroufe, but it's pronounced Sroufe, rhymes with loaf because he used to make loaves of bread. His first name is Del, Del. Yep. So there you have it. I never, have you ever made challah? Because I used to make challah when I was younger.
Yeah, a lot. I used to have, in fact, because I was vegan, I had a lot of customers who were um, um, Oh, what's the special
Orthodox?
Orthodox Jews? But because I was vegan, they would buy my food sometimes because I didn't mix the eggs and the milk and all that stuff. I almost had my bakery certified to be Orthodox, but it was very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved a good challah.
Yep. I was a pastry chef for about 5 years. And what I liked about it, like you said about the bread is meditative, there was a lot less pressure. Like I could never imagine being an executive chef like Ramses was, where people are actually hungry and waiting for you. With the bakery, it's like, nobody's, if you're out of one cake, they get another cake. You don't get yelled at a lot. You kind of are on your own in a way.
Well, I tell you what, if I could pick the job besides baking that I would go back and do now, I would be a line cook. I love being online, and I love the pace of it, and the camaraderie of it, if you will, too. But there's something about it that I really, really like. So I could easily be a line cook, and if I would go back and open up another retail space, I'd like to have a deli.
Well, that's funny because your name, it could be Deli. Get it? Deli.
Deli, baby, I'd be all right there. But I
Oh,
love the fresh salads and fruit salads and the sandwiches that you can make and all those things. I love all that. I love deli food, period. But having whole food, plant-based deli foods right up my alley.
we had a nice comment. Someone made your mayonnaise. Where did that comment go? Let me read it. She said she makes it every week. It was a very nice comment from a young lady here. Well, somebody, yeah, there it is from Ricky. Hi, Del. Just tonight, I made your recipe for mayonnaise. I make it weekly. It's a lifesaver.
You know what, my recipe's mayonnaise. I love mayonnaise. Not everyone does, but I would dip my French fries in mayonnaise instead of ketchup if I had my way. Um, I looked into producing that mayonnaise to be bottled because you can't buy a vegan mayonnaise that doesn't have oil in it. The ones that they make are 95% fat.
Well,
So,
why don't you talk to Dylan, because he just got off the ground 10 products. Do you know who Dylan Holmes is from Well Your World?
uh,
He has 10 delicious SOS free sauces. 5 of them are more like salad dressings. He has ketchup and barbecue sauce. Maybe he'd talk to you how he did it, because would it need to be refrigerated, your product?
well, no, I made I created 4 sauces that I had in production before. I found an organization to produce them. I went and had them tested by the uh, agencies that do that for shelf stability and all of that. And then we were in production, and this company just disappeared, went out of business one day. So that was the end of that. But we'll see. I'm not in the mood to produce anything right now on that kind of scale.
I
It's a
hear
lot
you.
of work.
Judy says, where can we find the prepared foods he mentioned? The website is wellnessforumfoods.com.
Yeah, if you go to wellnessforumhealth.com, is a better place to go. And you can call 614-841-7700 because they don't do online ordering. You'll need to call in and place an order, but it's 614-841-7700.
Great, thank you.
Catalog so you can see what they have.
Cynthia says, what book is his mayonnaise recipe in, or how can we get it?
I believe there's one in the Forks Over Knives cookbook, and there's a couple of versions of it. I can give you my in off the top of my head my version. It's very easy. So you take a package of silken tofu, a 12-ounce package. I like the extra firm. Let it drain a little bit and put that in your food processor. And you're going to add, I think it's 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. I've used lemon juice, I've used balsamic vinegar, whatever, but usually it's a red wine vinegar. And then I add a salt to taste, and then mustard powder, onion powder, and garlic powder. I believe I'm going to have to look it up. I believe here's the problem of a chef who doesn't follow his own recipes. I just wing it and I go as I go. I think it's a teaspoon of each. Anybody that has that recipe open could maybe give us the levels. It's a teaspoon each of mustard, onion, and garlic powder, if I'm not mistaken, and then salt.
I'm
That,
looking for it. I had it. I'm searching my phone to see if I can pull it up.
and that's it. It's an easy recipe. It keeps, by the way, it'll keep 14 days easily in the refrigerator because it.
I found it, Del.
Oh, good.
Okay, this is from the Forks Over Knives cookbook. It says 1 package firm silken tofu, 1 teaspoon dry mustard, 1/2 teaspoon onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon sea salt, 3 tablespoons red wine vinegar. Combine all ingredients in the bowl of a food processor fitted with the S blade. Puree until smooth and creamy. Store refrigerated in an airtight container. Makes 1.5 cups.
Yeah, so make a double or triple batch of that and you'll have it on hand. And then you can adapt it to other ways, however you want to use it. So chopped herbs, fresh herbs can go in there. And just like you would do any, mayonnaise is highly adaptable to whatever you want to add to it. So it's a good one to have on hand.
That's great.
And it's
Can
all
you,
free.
Larry asks if you could use fresh onion and garlic in the mayonnaise recipe.
It definitely does change it changes it a lot, Larry, but it gives you more of that fresh aioli flavor. It's a little more pungent. So either your quantities are going to change a little bit, but play around with it, and see what you think.
That's great. Kathy is asking if Wellness Forum ships.
They do. They ship all around the country. So yeah, easily.
Ricky says, I've never made it with tofu. I love it with cauliflower.
I have done it with cauliflower too. I like you, I come across clients every day who don't like tofu or are allergic to tofu or can't have it for whatever reason. So I've made it with cauliflower. You just want to steam your cauliflower until it's very tender, and you'll need just under 2 cups of cauliflower. But when it's pureed, you want 1.5 cups of puree. But make sure it's well cooked so that it isn't gritty when you puree it. But it works really well. There's one difference with these oil-free mayonnaise recipes that you want to pay attention to. When you're making a sandwich, say you're making a sandwich for a picnic, and your sandwich is going to sit in your picnic basket for a couple of hours before you go to the picnic. Well, you don't want to put your mayonnaise directly onto your bread using an oil-free recipe because it will make your bread soggy. So put your mayonnaise somewhere, but like put lettuce on first or something else on first, and then your mayonnaise, so you don't have to worry about that so much.
Yeah, I think cauliflower. So I personally allergic to soy, so I love cauliflower because it's so neutral and it takes on the taste of whatever you mix with it.
If you have any of my cookbooks, you know that I rage on cauliflower. One of my favorite cream sauces, it's a bechamel sauce, is a cauliflower bechamel. It's in the Forks Over Knives cookbook. It's so good.
So good.
Yeah, I love that.
Ashar says, do we consider cornmeal a flour or a grain?
Well, it's a flour made from a grain.
Yeah, it's not really a whole grain. Yeah.
It's a slightly processed grain. But yeah.
Yep. Let's see. I'm looking to see if there's any questions here. Okay. Are you planning on writing any more books? No.
My mother, I was talking to her this morning, and she goes, "When are you writing a children's book?" One of my best friends and I have talked about it. He might be listening. I don't know. We are talking about writing a children's cookbook, and he would illustrate it. He's the most amazing artist, and it would be an honor if he would illustrate it because it would just be beautiful. His renditions of wildlife that I've seen are amazing. So it would be a whole new element. But we have an idea for a cookbook. I've got, believe it or not, I've been on this sabbatical for a couple of years, but I have a couple of large projects that I'm working on now, and a cookbook may have to wait a little bit until I get settled in on my other new project.
Are these projects you can talk about, or are they secret?
No. I'll give a little bit of a tease away, and you'll want to stay tuned. If you follow me on my Chef Del Sroufe page, you'll know when it becomes public. But it will involve education. I will be teaching, and I will be in a very public way, but it's very, very different for me. I'm stepping way outside my comfort zone. And part of what we're going to be doing with this project is to take my issues with weight loss and put them on a public format, and start working through them. And I've been doing a lot of work in that in the past, well, forever, but in the past year, really, especially working really hard and making some great progress up here. And so we're going to take that and put that in a public format so that the world can see and share. And for those who struggle like I do, you can ride along and maybe be inspired by my own story.
Well, that almost sounds like a Chef Del reality show.
A little bit.
A little bit. Well, so is the best way for people, do you have a mailing list or a website, or is it just they should go to your Facebook page, Chef Del Sroufe?
It's my Facebook page, Chef Del Sroufe on Facebook. I'm up to 6,000 followers. It's amazing for me.
Nice.
But I
Very
post
cool.
recipes there. I do the occasional live streaming video when I get excited about something and things like that. And then any upcoming events get posted there too.
That's great. Shirley says hugs to my fellow Buckeye, and she has like a million hearts. So that's so nice. Sherry wants to know, what's your favorite meal?
Well, oh gosh, anyone where I don't cook.
Yep, I love it.
Anywhere where I don't cook, and people, I have friends that bring me over. I have the best friends. Most of my friends aren't vegan and aren't whole foods plant-based, but they cook that way for me when I come to their house. Those are the meals that I appreciate the most because they don't have to go through that effort for me, but they do. I have an international dinner club that I've been a part of almost since we graduated from college, friends I went to high school with. And there's 6 of us that cook, and everybody will contribute a meal. Now, a lot of them, the dishes aren't vegan, but there always are more than one vegan dish available for me. In other words, it's whatever I bring, but somebody else is always making something vegan too. And so I appreciate those meals the most because that's an extra effort that people don't have to do, but they do it because they love me.
Oh, that's so nice. Sue wants to know, are you teaching any classes? I did see something on your Facebook page. I don't know when it starts.
Well, there's a couple of things that are coming up. Now, part of it depends upon this whole uh, quarantine that's going on. In June, I have a retreat scheduled in Gambier, Ohio. If you're familiar, Gambier, Ohio is near Kenyon College. It's the most gorgeous part of Ohio. It's at an old farmhouse. We'll spend 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, Friday and Saturday nights together, and we'll do some yoga, we'll do some cooking, etc. You'll see that on my Chef Del page, and then I'm doing a live stream cooking series starting April 4th, and that one is 4 classes. Includes a soup class, a stir fry class, a burger class, and then a quick and easy meals class. In addition, you'll get a 1-year subscription to my menu planning service, which includes recipes, and there's probably 300 recipes in that meal planning service, plus the shopping list and access to me on how to manage all of that, all for $95. So it's a really good deal. But just send me a message if you're interested in that, and I can get you more information and tell you how to pay for it.
Terrific. I know you said your favorite meal is the one you don't have to cook, but like if there was a plant-based chef that could move in with you for like a week or a month, who would it be?
Oh, dear God. Well, I'd take you. You know what?
I'd do it. I would do it. I would do a reality. I'm being very serious here. I won't come to you, but if you would come to here, I will cook. We'll do a reality show and I will get you skinny and cook for you for a month. I'm very serious.
Well, that's a serious offer conversation in there. Um, and the getting skinny and letting you cook for me are two of the bonus parts of it. But you are a fabulous chef.
Thank you. I don't chef too much anymore, but I really appreciate that but I mean, I think that'd be fabulous. Like we could film your progress. It'd be like the Truman Show. It'd be the Del Show. And
Well,
yeah, oh boy, I'm just getting excited thinking about it. Because I always thought, who I'd like is Chef Eric Le Chasseur, just because he's so little, he wouldn't take it. No, I'm just kidding. You met him, right, at one of the Healthy Tastes, maybe? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's something to talk about. We'll see with this other thing going on. This other project is going to take me out of the country part of the year. I haven't said that yet, so that's a whole new thing for me too. But we,
That's that's
but
so.
I do love your food. I remember when you came to the Wellness Forum, and that first time I tasted your German chocolate cake. Now I
Yeah,
know we're not going to eat that when I'm there on your diet,
right.
um, but I was so impressed of what you were able to do in this SOS environment with a German. It was delicious.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's what I am very proud of my desserts. I don't eat them. I haven't eaten them in probably 8 years, but I recently moved to the Palm Springs area, and a doctor that I had here, he was just such a wonderful doctor. I gave it to him as a present. He was like really, blown away. So thank you. That's like that was inspired by Hans Deal. And speaking of inspiring, we have a nice comment here from someone who says, oh boy, these go so fast. Shar wants to know if she can come too. Well, if the price is right. She says, I could use your inspiration, Del. So that's so nice. Now we have an interesting question. This is a hard chef question. Larry says, ever make any desserts with stevia, and ideally gluten and oat free and without nuts or seeds, LOL. Prefer no fruit either. Boy, how about a sweet potato?
Hey, no, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a lot of restrictions. I mean, because you're basically taking away flour and sugar and fat. I mean, I don't know I don't know the answer to that. I'd say just eat a sweet potato.
I well, the weight wellness forum has a weight loss program, and I'm getting ready to start back through it again, because they really are focusing more on behavior and less on what you eat. But one of the things that we always say is to make fruit your first choice for dessert. And when you get rid of, and you talk about this all the time, I know, you get rid of the sugar addiction, you get rid of the taste of sugar on the mouth, and how sugar, it kills everything else for flavor, right? It just dominates. But when you're no longer eating sugar, and I don't eat sugar very often at all anymore. I walked away from that addiction a long time ago. It's a very rare thing for me to have it or crave it. But I eat fresh fruit a lot, and I love it. I love fresh pineapple and in season strawberries and the like. And I make fruit salads for myself all the time, and they really do a good job for me of getting that sweet tooth covered.
Yeah, fruit is great.
And one
Florence said, oh, go ahead.
I would say one thing about stevia, baking with stevia is quite a challenge because sugar takes up about a volume in a recipe, and that volume is usually a liquid base, even though sugar can often be dry. So you have to replace that with something. So if you're going to get rid of a cup of sugar and you want to replace that with stevia, then you'll still need a cup of something else to replace the sugar with. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, I find it very hard to cook with the artificial sweeteners, just and also for my palate. Florence wants to know, are you SOS free? I think he's just O free, but I'll let him answer that.
O free, and I eat very little oil, and or eat very little sugar. And I tell you what, I'm not sugar free. Um, uh, I fight that. I don't necessarily want to be, but I don't want sugar to rule my world, and I've worked hard at that. Um, like I said, I rarely ever eat sugar, but I do eat salt.
Mhm. It's interesting, that little kitchen, I couldn't believe you put out the most food in the littlest kitchen I've ever seen at that wellness forum. I don't know how you did it. We could barely, it was like a closet.
They used to freak you out. I love that small kitchen. And here's what I like about a smaller kitchen is, we had to use we had an outer room there that we used when we wanted to plate large numbers of dishes. But for food prep, having everything sort of right there with me saved my life, because it meant I mean, we had a walk-in cooler and freezer I had to go around the corner to find. I wish it was closer, But having said that, when I'm cooking, everything's pretty much right there for me, and I like that a lot. Now, I got evil as all get out. I'm a nice person, but when there are too many people in my kitchen, it used to drive me nuts. So it's not a kitchen where you can have a big social environment, but I liked it.
That was really tiny. I couldn't believe the output that you had in there.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah. How
We
did
did.
you hook up? How did you even get started at the Wellness Forum?
I met Pam back in when I had my bakery, and I had a bakery and a food co-op. 1999, she walked in the door, and there were these little bars that she used to buy and order from California that were a pretty healthy kind of a snack bar. And the guy that made them just disappeared one day, and she couldn't get them anymore. And she asked me to recreate them. And so I put together some samples for her, and they weren't the same that she had gotten from this guy, but they were very similar, and she liked them. And I started producing them for her. And that was the beginning of that whole line of mixes. So it started off with the bars, and then it went into the soup mixes and things like that. And that was the beginning of our relationship.
That's cool. Do you remember when we were in the Iron Chef with Darshana and she kicked both our butts?
I still love her, but she did kick our butts.
It's not fair because she had literally just graduated from culinary school.
Graduated, so I give her full credit for that. But she had that just graduated kind of mentality about her, where I was kind of like, whatever, let's cook and see what happens. Well, I should have put a little more effort into it and won at least one of those.
I know. It was fun though. Someone just said I missed the beginning, who were you on with? And thank you, Kathy, for typing Chef Del Sroufe from all the way. You still live in Columbus, Ohio, right?
I do.
Yep.
Yeah, born
Yeah.
and raised. Columbus, Ohio is becoming quite the vegan mecca. We have a lot of new vegan restaurants here. The problem is the same as it is anywhere. It's really hard to find oil-free vegan, whole foods vegan anywhere. There's such a focus on fried foods and fast fried foods and all that that I can't go out to eat much because of that.
I remember there was a restaurant that I can't remember, but Pam took me to it once and it had a really good beet burger.
North Star is still there. Not a vegan restaurant, but their beet burger is to die for. They make a really amazing burger.
Have you ever tried to copy it?
I've had the recipe in my hand and didn't hold on to it, but I should have.
Oh. Do you use any of the tools that are all the rage now that I use every day, like the Instant Pot or the air fryer?
I wondered if you were going to ask. AJ has we've done events together. I've hosted her at our place for events, and she is always going on about her tools of the trade, the Instapot and all of those things. And I have as yet to own an Instapot or anything like it. And one of my nieces, one of the young women that I taught to cook, when she was 4 years old, she was in my bakery helping me. The other day I was there for a game night, and she was like, I got my first Instapot. And I was like, oh, it's not that I'm against him or anything like that. I'm just this big Luddite who doesn't want one more thing in my kitchen. It was years after I started cooking before I got my first Vitamix. And now I love my Vitamix. It's my everything. I imagine that one day soon you'll see a Instapot in my kitchen.
I hope so. Bravo doesn't have one either. But you know what? He doesn't need one. He has the Cleveland steamer that he uses. And you know what those are?
No.
It's this huge thing where he puts in like literally hotel trays of vegetables and they're steamed in like minutes.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, it's incredible. And I called the company. I said, can I have one? First of all, it was like $10,000. And second said, it's not safe for a home because it's attached to a lot of things. It's big. It's called a Cleveland steamer. And you can put in several trays. Potatoes, things, because he's serving like 55 people and they're eating pounds and pounds of food. It's just quite an incredible thing.
Well, one of the things, in my little tiny kitchen that you talk about, I had a 10 burner stove and I had 3 ovens. So I was never really worried about, and I could throw my beans on first thing in the morning and an hour and a half later they were ready to go while I did many other things. So that's why I never worried about it. But you know what? At home now, I'm not in love with cooking right now, and I'm thinking, well, the Instant Pot might be a nice way to throw something in for some soup and have. And I'm eating a lot more soup. You know, I'm not a soup lover, but one of the foods that I'm loving right now that's helping me with weight loss is soup.
Yep.
So
Me
filling and easy and all of that that I'm saying yes to the soup.
I love soup, and I live where it can be very hot, and I still love soup. I just made one of Kathy Hester's recipes called velvety root soup, and it's got all the root vegetables, and it doesn't even have any non-dairy milk, and it came out so creamy. I love soup.
Yeah, I'm gonna become a person of the soup.
Yeah. Shirley wants to know what size Instant Pot would you want to use? I recommend the 8. If you're going to get one, Dell, you may as well go big or go home.
Well, is that 8 quart?
Yep.
Now let me ask you about the 8 quart. Can I, like, if I want to cook just like 4 cups of beans, can I do it?
Yes, you can always do small recipes in a big one, but if you decide to get the 3 quart, you're not going to be able to do bigger recipes.
So Shirley, whatever she says.
Great. So, how long do things last? Because people are like so worried now. A lot of people are hoarding out of fear, but I mean, food doesn't last forever, right? I mean, grains and beans uncooked last a long time, but potatoes, even spices. Do you? What do you? Because you had a professional kitchen, and so how do you ascertain the shelf life of the various components of the food that you were using?
And there's a lot of answers in there. Let's start with a root cellar. And I tell you what, one of my close friends here in Columbus actually has a root cellar in his home, and they buy bulk quantities of things like potatoes and onions and put them down in the root cellar, which my grandparents used to do, and those things keep all winter. So if you store foods right, they'll keep longer than they would otherwise. There's some basic rules for not mixing up some foods. Some of that I can't think of off the top of my head right now, but I have a bag of potatoes in there right now that are 3 months old, and you'll know when they're no longer usable. Either they turn black and they smell really bad, or they start to grow the roots so that they become a new plant. Not a big deal. Um, but so your onions and those kinds of things, I think they keep really well in a cool, dry place. Herbs are the most delicate of the things that we have. When we have fresh herbs, you don't get a lot of time out of them. But basil, for example, you don't refrigerate. You put it into a thing of fresh water. You put a piece of plastic bag over it and set it on the shelf top in front of the window, and change the water every day, and it'll keep several days. Same thing with like cilantro and some of your other herbs. But then other foods, I tend to follow, if it's a packaged food like soy milk, I follow somewhat closely the expiration date, but other than not very strictly. Um, Prepared foods are probably the biggest question. And here's the deal. If you take a big pot of soup and take it off the stove and throw it directly into the refrigerator, one, you're going to ruin your refrigerator because you're going to overheat it. So, as a chef, what we do is we take a big pot of soup and pour it into a shallow pan and let it cool on the shelf, then refrigerate it, and it'll keep, legally, we keep it 7 days. But to be honest, it'll keep longer. It'll keep even 8 to 10 days. So, depending on how you store your foods, will help determine how long you'll keep.
No, that makes sense. Hey, yay, Phyllis just joined us. I'm so glad Phyllis was trying to figure out how to get on. Shirley says that when the Instant Pot goes on sale, I will buy you one, Dell, and have it sent straight to you. I'm going to hold you to that, Shirley. They usually go on sale on what's called Amazon Prime Day. There's like is it July 7th or something like that? 7/7. I've seen them like really, really low.
Well,
Yep.
sure, that's very sweet of you. Thank you for thinking of me.
Is Chef Dell vegan? I missed that. I'm pretty sure he is for a very long time.
Yes. Yeah, I went vegan back in 1997. My career has been in vegan and vegetarian kitchens since 1989. I wasn't strictly vegan at all those times, but have really committed to it in the past several years just because if you're like me, I have been would have weighed as much as 500 pounds. I have been on a weight loss struggle most of my adult life. That means that I'm at risk for all of those diseases that we talk about that are fueled by fat. So I get nervous talking about eating meat and those foods because of that. I think that it's playing with fire, if you will.
Yeah. What's the difference between a herb and a spice?
Well, generally herbs are the tender leaves of a plant, and then your spice are made mostly from the seeds. Now, the exception are ginger is considered a spice. So you might expand the definition to include the roots or seeds of certain plants become the spices, and your tender leaves are the herbs.
You can't keep spices forever, right? I mean, you can, but don't they lose their potency and flavor?
If you're going to keep them for any length of time, you want to keep them whole. So whole coriander seed, once you grind the spice, then it tends to diminish the volatile oils that give it its flavor. 6 months is a good rule for most of the spices stored in a cool, dark cabinet. The whole spice will keep a little bit longer.
Yeah. Do you ever go to, I don't know if you have these in Columbus, but do you have anything like Penzies or Savory? Do you ever go to spice shops and sniff around?
Penzies, and then we have a. I would love to own my own spice shop. I think they're fun. I just saw a wonderful article about a Michelin chef who left the cooking world to open up his own spice shop, and he blends custom spices for restaurants and for the public, which I think is fabulous. I love the idea of playing with flavor, and so I enjoy learning new combinations of spices and the things like that. And I think they're fun to play with. But we have a locally owned spice shop. I don't get down to it very often since I'm not cooking as much these days. But we have an old historic North Market where they have a wonderful little spice shop there.
I met a very nice gentleman named Nick who has a spice shop in Tiburon. It's called Local Spicery, and they're all organic, non-irridated, small batch. And he's taken recipes from my book and made packages so that you could just buy like red lentil chili, black bean soup, and then he puts the recipe on it, and then it's all measured.
I've thought about a product line of easy to go spice blends for that purpose. Your chili mix, your curry blend, etc. Because I make the mixes that I make at the Wellness Forum. I made my own spice blends for those. I have my own curry blend that I love, and then I have a pretty standard recipe for chili spices that I do too. So it's kind of fun for me, and I thought that'd be a fun business to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you ever play around with the flavored vinegars?
I do. You know, the last Esselstyn event that I did, I think in Cleveland, Dallas or Cleveland, Cleveland, I bought. They had the spice person there. I forget the name of it, but the woman who sold the flavored vinegars, and I fell in love. The one that I bought a case of. I don't know why I did that. A case of is a cilantro and roasted garlic flavored vinegar. And I tell you what, I use that as a salad dressing just by itself.
Yep.
I think those flavored vinegars are the key to not needing. I don't even need to make my own salad dressings. I use those and a little bit of black pepper and some fresh herbs, and you've got a great salad.
You know, I agree with you so much. And they maybe people say they're expensive, but they're so flavorful. You don't need that much of it. And I use them for sauces too, like on grain dishes, because I think they're delicious.
Yeah, I'm all in on those. I need to go to another Eston event, either that or just go shopping and get some of the other because she had some amazing. There were maybe 25 different flavors of vinegar that she had that I tried, and there were some fabulous flavor combinations.
It's so fun. It would be fun to make them, if I knew how. I've Googled how to do it, but I've just never done it because you need a good mother vinegar too to start.
Yeah, yeah, I've made a few. We've done them in a couple of my cooking classes. You know, I love teaching people things like that, and I've done a lot of it in my classes, just because it's fun to see the light bulb go off. People see how easy some of it is.
One of the questions Ramses got this morning, and I get it a lot too, there's a few people that just for whatever reason can't eat vinegar and they can't even eat citrus and they don't know what to do for salad dressing.
Oh, wow. I think maybe what you want to do is think about getting it's the same thing I tell people when they're giving up sugar or salt, is at some point when you stop consuming those things, you almost don't miss the flavor of them. So if you've assumed that your salads need a vinegar type thing, you can get away from that. So fresh chopped herbs and if you eat salt, a little salt and pepper can go a long way for seasoning your salad and without even worrying about it. I would just try and use other ingredients that have lots of flavor. And like I said, fresh herbs do it a lot. And isn't there what is it, lemon balm, lemon verbena, one of those herbs that has a citrus kind of flavor to it, but is not citrus?
I don't know. I can Google it. I don't, there's certain things like lemongrass, lemon verbena, sorrel, marjoram,
Sorrel,
episode. There's a lot of things I just haven't used.
sorrel would be a good one. Lemongrass would be another one. It's a little harder to use. Sorrel has a very tangy flavor, so you would get that same sour thing without the vinegar. So that'd be a good one.
Yep. Any ingredients you just don't like?
Yes.
What is it?
um, no, I'm backing up and thinking I don't like preparations for some things. You know what I struggle with, and I keep thinking you should like this is eggplant.
Ah, I only like it kind of like if it's in ratatouille.
Well, I make an amazing Georgian ratatouille. It's called Azapsandali. It's from the Republic of Georgia, and it's a ratatouille, but it has potatoes in it, and then it has basil, mint, cilantro, and a touch of cinnamon in it, and it's fantastic. So I like it in that dish. I like baba ganoush, but like an eggplant cutlet, I kind of don't quite get.
Or can you do an eggplant parmesan healthy?
I do one. I do a coating if you want to mimic a fried food that's not fried food. I make a coating out of almond meal, and I'll use almond meal and nutritional yeast and garlic and salt and pepper and use that as a coating, and it's delicious. But it's not a reduced fat, so you can't think to yourself that this is a weight loss food. You could replace the almond meal with cornmeal, but you still have a concentrated calorie that you have a lower fat content.
Right, right. You ever notice how cinnamon varies widely depending on what kind it is and where you get it?
Oh yeah, well have you yeah, you've had the real thing, haven't you?
Yeah, I forget which one it is, but there's some cinnamon that when you taste it, you think they put sugar in it, but they didn't. When it's fresh, it's just so different to me. Like certain things like smoked paprika, they're all pretty good to me, or chipotle powder, but cinnamon, they're not all the same.
No, well, and it's because most of the cinnamon that we get in the store is not real cinnamon. It's come from a bark that mimics the cinnamon. I can't even say it right. But real cinnamon, if you've ever had it, and I forget what it's called, it comes from, is it Madagascar? I forget where it comes from, but it's a fantastic flavor, all on its own. You just want to make a cinnamon cake and cinnamon scones and cinnamon tea and be done with it. It's so good. But you can tell the difference once you've had the real thing between that and the others.
Yeah, it's hard to have bad cinnamon once you've had good cinnamon. Kathy's saying for the person that can't have the citrus or vinegar, how about pureed beans with seasoning as a dressing, like a hummus almost?
Yeah, you could take your pureed beans and then add garlic and your herbs and whatever and be good to go. Um, you know, eh,
Saying, mhm.
there's a couple of things, you know, you don't have to like or eat salad to effectively lose weight, right? You can eat a freaking vegetable platter with a dip and be doing pretty much the same thing. Um, you don't have to eat soup to lose weight. You know, you can have stir fries, a healthy oil-free stir fry, and do the same thing. So people always assume that they have to have a certain, like we need to eat this much salad every day. Well, we want to eat a lot of vegetables every day, but we don't have to eat it in salad form. We can eat it in any other kind of form that we want too. Fresh vegetables are great, and if you just want to nosh on them, find that perfect dip to do it with, and go be happy.
Yep, can't eat too many vegetables. It's so funny that there's so many vegetables, like root vegetables, like turnip and rutabaga, that I literally did not taste until the last 2 years of my life, and they're so good.
They are really good, and if you've not been familiar with them, you really do want to take your basic potato soup recipe and replace at least half the potatoes with one of those vegetables to learn what it tastes like, because you'll be very, very surprised at the subtle and wonderful flavor that they impart to food. It's just expanding that whole horizon of your taste buds, and then that's the cool part of it.
What's so cool about rutabaga is you can cut it into fries, and like in the air fryer, you think you're eating French fries, and it's a non-starchy vegetable, but it tastes just like potatoes.
Yum. Yeah, there's a whole world out there that we need to embrace. Americans still only eat, 6 or 7 different foods every day, and that variety makes us all easier.
Absolutely. Gina's saying, have you tried chopped salads?
Yeah, I make a lot of chopped salads when I fast. I need a hearty salad. I can't just eat a bowl of lettuce greens. I do as a snack. Oddly enough, I used to get in trouble at work all the time because I'm walking by and grabbing the mixed greens and just chomping on that. But when I sit down to a meal, I like the chopped salad because I throw beans in there, which then fill me up so that I'm not hungry an hour later. So yeah, I love a good chopped salad, and I make those. I make those more than a regular salad, like a leafy green salad.
Do you chop it by hand? I have a special bowl from Holland, Michigan called the Holland Bowl, and I have a mezzalune, and I make my husband do it, but we we do it in this special wooden bowl.
I'm still chopping by hand, trying to be the Luddite and maintain my right for Ludditism, whatever it's called.
That's funny. People are saying, what about Saigon cinnamon or Ceylon cinnamon or cassia cinnamon?
Yeah, all of those. I mean, and the goal is to find one that you like.
Yeah.
They're all going to be a little bit different, and you'll like one more than the other. So, I've had Ceylon, and I've had Ceylon's one of the real ones, and I've had one other, and then I've had the regular store bought stuff. I like the stuff in the store. It's world rocking, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have any more questions for Chef Dell before we release him on his own recognizance? I never even knew what that word meant, but I like the sound of it.
I couldn't tell you what it means myself.
I think they say that when there's criminals or something. He's released on his own recognizance. I don't even know how to spell recognizance. I've been playing a lot of Scrabble lately because some of my senior friends, well, even before we had the sheltering in place, the people over 65 were asked to shelter in place. So my friends, I started playing online games with them, like Scrabble, just to feel connected. And so I'm just learning a lot of new words like recognizance.
You will.
Yeah. Susan says she hasn't found a rutabaga that she likes. That's interesting. I love them. Absolutely. And Colleen saying, thank you for doing this. It's our pleasure. And Shar says, I use kitchen shears to chop my greens. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
For hand tearing. Then tell Shar or Susan, going back to the rhythm for a second, she has to do what we ask our children to do, and that is try it 6 times before she says no.
Absolutely. I heard actually sometimes even 15. So Larry says, I like this chef's tips, more advanced stuff. Where can we learn more? Well, we're so glad you asked, Larry, because he has a Facebook page. It is his name, Chef Del Sroufe, spelled Sroufe, and he's going to be teaching some very nice online cooking classes coming up soon. So you can check him out there. And he has many, many best-selling books. He's got, you don't have them to show, but could you say the names? I know you've got the China Study, Forks Over Knives, Better Than Vegan. Those are the three I remember.
Forks Over Knives, the cookbook was my first. Better Than Vegan talks about my story and issue of weight loss. And then there's the China Study Quick and Easy cookbook and the China Study Family cookbook. are my four babies, and I love them all.
Like Susanna says, tell Del about Andrew Spudfit Taylor. Are you familiar with the gentleman from Australia? Ate nothing but potatoes for a whole year. I love potatoes, but I don't know if I could eat them for a whole year if I didn't eat anything else.
If it would save my life, that'd be one thing, but otherwise, no.
Yeah, that'd be hard. I eat potatoes every day, but I eat other things too.
Right.
So Shirley's going to message you after. Colleen says, what type of soups do you make? He makes delicious soups.
I make all kinds. I make a broccoli bisque when I'm craving something green and fun. I make black bean chili, though I'm not a chili lover, but I do eat it. It's so hearty. There's a ton of soups in all of my cookbooks. So if you go in there and look, you'll see them all. But tomato vegetable, I make a tomato bisque because I make a healthy vegan cheesy sandwich. It's actually a low-fat cheese sauce, so I make that, and then I always want cream of tomato soup with it. It's also healthy and low-fat. So there's several, and my cookbook books have several super. Oh, my black bean bisque in Better Than Vegan. It's a smoky black bean bisque. It's to die for. One of my favorites, actually.
Now, you make amazing shepherd's pie. You have one of the best shepherd's pie recipes I've ever tasted.
It's an easy one too. There's not a lot of spices or anything in it. It's just kind of old-fashioned cooking.
It's so good. You made it the year that Dr. McDougall spoke at Healthy Tastes of LA. I remember because I sat next to him.
Yeah.
That was so good. Gina wants to know, how do you stay so creative with your dishes?
Well, I don't now. When left to my own devices, I eat the same thing all the time.
Same here. People don't understand. That's what we do. It's so easy and delicious. I really I do too. Sweet henna yam and broccoli every day for lunch, dinner, whatever.
Yeah, I've cooked two things the past week. I made black bean chili, and then I made mock tuna salad with the chickpea version, and that's all I've been eating for the whole week. So there's not a lot of creativity going on there. But having said that, going back to when I was writing cookbooks, I had 22 years of cooking experience to help fuel that first cookbook. So I got to go into a kitchen every day and cook something differently, and that really helped me a lot.
Right. Patricia says recognizance means you don't have to wait for your trial in jail. It's a promise to appear at your court date. Okay, good. Good to know.
To appear at my court date.
Well, none of us have to appear at our court date because jury duty got canceled. Yay.
Yay.
Because of the sheltering. That was the one bright spot, right? Well, this has been so much fun catching up with you. I can't wait to see what you're up to with the secret stuff you were talking about. And guys, hop on over to his Facebook page and follow him so you can be notified when he does whatever fun things he has, and check out all of his books. They're all available on Amazon. They're all great. I have all of them. I know you will love his recipes. And if you want to get any of his pre-made, the stuff he created at Wellness Forum, say the website again? Wellness Forum Health. And those are the pre-made mixes. He especially recommends the millet loaf. He has all kinds of single serving soups where you just add water. These will be great for travel and for, staying stocked up if we have another sheltering in place coming up.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll be over on my Facebook page for a while if anybody wants to come over and say hi.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember Ina, but she was your assistant at Healthy Taste, and she goes in capitals, love his shepherd pie. Had the privilege of making it with him the year that McDougall spoke. See, people remember you.
I had a great time at that event, and your helpers were the best. They were wonderful.
Our volunteers were the best. And I remember it took 5 years to get you out there. And you were one of the reasons I even had the idea for creating the event. Just you and Ramses were in my head, and I said, wouldn't it be great? And then whoop, it manifested. So that was great. Yep. Karen says, I took his shepherd's pie to Christmas dinner and everyone liked him. Wouldn't it be fun to take him to Christmas dinner? Maybe he'll come out this year and we'll do our little experiment. All right. Well, thanks, love. You've been so wonderful to talk to. It's so good to see you guys. I don't know if I'm going to go live tomorrow because I'm teaching my class, but if you come back Wednesday at 2, I'm interviewing the psychologist at the True North Health Center, Dr. Jen Hawk. So you can ask her all the questions of everything you're worried about this coronavirus. And this has just been really fun. It's been a day of just wonderful learning and wonderful chefs. So hop on over to Chef Del Sroufe, Sroufe, like his Facebook page, and he's going to go over there right now and chat with you guys a little longer if you like. Thanks a lot, Del. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, bye, everybody.